Good morning. Thank you very much for having me and for giving me the opportunity to speak about principal power and the wind float technology, which we believe is a paradigm shift for the offshore wind industry. So the context today is an offshore wind industry that many people see, and Shell one of them, as one of the new large renewable resources still to be harvested at large scale. We're today at over 13 gigawatts of capacity worldwide, and it's expected to reach over close to 170 gigawatts by 2030. This at the same time as the industry still battles with major challenges in terms of reduction of capital costs, reduction of operational costs, and really ability to become a global industry. It's you're here in the UK. This has been an industry mostly developed in the North Sea, and now it's facing relevant challenges to really become global. And part of it is the fact that it's been developed in very shallow water sites in the North Sea that don't exist throughout. So for it to become a global industry, it needs to find new solutions. So the wind float is a technology that we believe will disrupt that market and will be one of the core solutions to make the global industry. The technology, as you see on the screen, is featured from several concepts coming from the oil and gas space and applied to wind, using any type of commercial turbine out there, and using several features that have been proven over the years in the oil and gas space. Above all, it's a technology that brings a huge change in terms of how offshore wind works, in terms of reduction of cost and reduction of risk. You remove most of the heavy lift operations from offshore, you remove all the big risky operations offshore, and you bring most of the works to be done onshore and floated out to sea, both in installation and heavy operation and maintenance. What we see today as the future, we see ourselves as the leader in this deep water wind space that will really open a new source of renewable energy. The wind float is today a proven technology. It's had a pilot of 2 megawatts operating off the coast of Portugal for 5 years, producing according to plan. And by far, it was the most cost-competitive floating technology installed currently. The levelized cost of energy of our technology today is already at competitive levels compared to existing commercial technologies. And we believe that by the end of the decade, we will be beating the industry targets of levelized cost of energy. So we really believe that the wind float is a key part of the solution to make offshore wind a global industry and not just a regional industry. So what are we doing today? We've moved from the technical proving stage. Now we're proving the technology financially and economically. To do that, we're building projects around the world in several key target markets, demonstration projects from 3 to 5 turbines, and we're doing in Portugal, France, Japan, and we're already working on the large commercial wind farms that will be developed, and including in the US, in Hawaii. So our objective is that by the end of the decade, we will be deploying at large scale commercially. So how are we structured? Our institutional backing comes from a very diverse group from the utility space, EDP, a large utility focused in renewables, Repsol, a large oil and gas company, and other innovation partners such as Kikino Energy, who joined us this year, part of our funding round, and Shell, also a partner that joined us last year and is also here today. Our management team is also diverse from the power and renewable space, which is my case. Our 2 chief technical officers, which come from the oil and gas space and are co-inventors of the wind float, are still with the company today. And our general counsel, Ralph Sauerman, a very experienced international corporate lawyer and experienced in IP matters. So our business model, how is it structured? Is structured around our 3 main features, which is number 1, to be based on our core competencies of technology development, to be executable in the near term, and to minimize capital needs till deployment. We deliver packages to utilities, project developers, and EPC contractors, including the design, the engineering, and the presence in the operation and maintenance of the platform throughout the life cycle of the projects. So where do we see the market going today? We believe this is a market that's going to reach over 10 gigawatts by the middle of the next decade, and we believe the wind float is very well positioned to capture a very large part of this market. We believe that the revenues will develop throughout that cycle from the 6 million today, crossing the double-digit mark by the end of the decade, and reaching up to 100 million by the middle of the next decade. To get to this period, we are currently ongoing with a funding round, which adds to the over $30 million already raised, and we believe are critical to put us to commercial stage. We've raised approximately 50% of that funding round, and we're seeking new shareholders to join the current shareholders to take us through commercialization by the end of the decade. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak about the wind float, and I'm welcoming the discussion afterwards. Thank you.